You see that? Though he humble himself, he tries to give gifts to our people. What's that? He says seek to please the poor. Welfare checks, any type of benefits this devil gives you, and you niggas run right along with it. See, us here, look, a wise man when he'll do shit. Niggas giving me a stimulus check, I'm gonna use that stimulus check and I'm gonna go right at you devils with it. I'm gonna buy some more banners, expose you devils with it. All right? As a matter of fact, there's no end of all the books. It's too much study is a weariness of the flesh. We understand that. But I just got this order, right? The destruction of the Indies. A prior account of the destruction of the Indies, yeah. A brief account, it says, right? Yeah, that brief account has a lot of information, I can tell you that. By Bartholomew de las Casas, of what he did to the so-called Puerto Ricans and Native American Indians and the tribe of Benjamin and the tribe of Levi is on here. It's in here, written in here. So we're exposing you devils. With your well-paid jobs, you can buy books like this to expose you devils. Yeah, we know there's no end of all the books. Too much study is a weariness of the flesh. But there's nothing wrong with grabbing little points here and there in these different books. I like doing that. Me personally, I like doing that. So never trust your enemy. Your enemy is not to be trusted, man. This devil is not to be trusted. How did the devil conquer the earth? By that great sword, right? That book talks about the great sword. A sword that Esau Edom had, or the Spaniards, these Edomites. That was during the time of the Renaissance period, also the age of exploration, where Esau Edom came back into power. His last kingdom before that was the Roman Empire. This is the new revived Roman Empire once again on this earth. So there's nothing new under the sun. What you devils been trying that shit with us? Ooh, the vax. Now we're gonna try to get them with that since they know that's the RFID. That shit ain't gonna work, man. If you want to be a Hawashai sheep, that shit ain't gonna work on you, man. All right? We ain't bowing down to that shit. We ain't none of us receiving that. Lord willing, Lord, keep that spirit on us, not to bow down to that shit. It says here, Sirach chapter 10 and verse 7 and 8. Pride is hateful before Yahweh Yahawashai and man. See, pride is hateful. Pride is hateful before God and man. And by both does one commit iniquity. So what? So the Most High hates pride, and we hate pride, nigga. Zakari. Verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit. Now, how did the so-called white man gain all the riches and the resources of this earth? How did he gain all that? By rape, rob, violence, murder, deceit. You name it. Everything this devil, everything contrary to the Bible, this devil does. Everything contrary to the Bible, this devil does. So we're bringing out your dirt. We're bringing out your dirt because there's nothing new under the sun. We're telling you that the Lord is a so-called black man from the tribe of Judah, which that old bottle couldn't answer. He didn't look like this, so this is dirt that Esau created. Our Lord looking like a so-called white man. We're bringing out your dirt with the RFID microchip. All right? We're telling you that ICBM nuclear missiles are going to what? Pretty much wipe this place out, level this place clean. All right? We're bringing out your dirt, the wickedness of the white man. What you did to our people, Emmett Till, and countless Judite men, women, and children, and countless Native American Indians. We're bringing out your dirt, or what you're gonna do before you do it. All these people out here on this earth are delusional. They actually believe they got an upper hand on the Most High and the prophets. We're telling you what you're gonna do before you do it, and sure enough, they fall for it. And these devils fall for it. So we're bringing out your dirt. It says here, Sirach chapter 10 and verse 8, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit. See, that's the only way this devil got everything on this earth by deceit and trickery and deception and lies. That's the only way this devil got it. And who put him in that power seat to do that? Yahweh Shai did. Look, if you can't get it, we moving on, man. Shit, hell no. I'm gonna finish Revelation 20, Lord willing. Let me just say Yahweh Shai gave you that blessing. Gave you the blessing of the earth and blessing of that great sword. Genesis chapter 27 and verse 30, starting at verse 38. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling, so this was Esau's blessing, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. When you look at that word fatness, it literally means the riches of the earth, the fertile ground, and of the dew of heaven from above. So he's got the fatness of the earth, all the blessing of the earth. All right, he controls your passports, your IDs, your social security cards, the RFID microchip. Verse 40, and by thy sword shalt thou live. And that's the only reason why Esau is living right now, by that sword, by that great deception. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. Doesn't a so-called white man do that to the Native American Indians? Putting us in reservation camp. Didn't a so-called white man try to exterminate the tribe of Judah with drugs, with guns? Chicago, all these major cities. Doesn't he try to do that? He's got a hate for the Israelites. He puts border wars, all right, from Mexico to the United States. He puts walls there, or at least he's trying to put more walls there, or border patrol, I should say. All right, how about Asher? You Brazilians out there, know your history. Asher means happy, yeah, we know that, Asher. But, all right, you Brazilians in those favelas, in those ghettos, who put you there? This so-called white man does. This devil is fucking mad. He knows he got a short time. Damn, that look that Edomite just gave me, boy, good. Good, the water how about Shimei was shot. He knows he got but a short time. So, who's trying to exterminate the tribe of Ephraim with birth control pills? Huh? You know birth control pills should not be going in a woman's body, right? And abortion is murder. You people know that? You're a murderer. For all you women that ever had abortion, you're a fucking murderer. Not only that, you're an adulterer. That have more than 20 rods in you. If a woman has more than one man while her husband still lives, guess what? She's an adulteress. She jumps from one rod to the next. She's a hoe. A shameless woman should be counted as a dog. She's a fucking whore. So Esau Edom was given his fatness from her, and he was also given what? He was given the great sword. Like, this side is devil conquers the whole world. Not deception. And also too, I'm actually doing a video, Lord willing, later on. It says here, right? It says here, from RT American News, right? It says here, I was watching some of it, but it says here, police reform from policing the world to policing city blocks. And this Edomite in this video says that that the people that are policing the world are Esau Edom. That's basically what he's saying, because it ain't the Negroes doing it, I'm not doing it. We're not doing it, right? So he mentioned in this video that they have military bases or the military in everybody's backyard. So when you go into prophecy, which links up to Esau having that great sword, Micah chapter 2 and verse 2, that clearly fits Esau Edom or the so-called white man, who has over 800 military bases throughout the whole world. Do the Puerto Ricans have it? No. Do the Jamaicans have it? No. Does the tribe of Levi have it? No. So Micah chapter 2 and verse, chapter 2 and verse 2, and they covered fields, Micah chapter 2 starting at verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity, and Esau Edom devises iniquity. All right, he cautiously plot his next move and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. So this devil cannot stop thinking about ways to infiltrate the Israelite camp. Cannot stop him thinking about ways to try to do away with us of being a people. That's what Esau Edom is trying to do. But he can't do it. So when the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Why? So who gave Esau Edom the power of the earth? Yahweh Shai did. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai gave Esau Edom, the so-called white man, the rulership and the fatness and the sword and the power of the earth. It's in his hand now. Verse 2, and they covered fields. What does it mean to cover? To desire, right? So before they go into a specific country, like Iraq they did, they had to call, say what? Weapons of mass destruction, right? Which that was never found. It's so easy and common. It's so easy. That's common news to know that was never found, right? Weapons of mass destruction. But you went over there and you slaughtered men, women, and children just to go in there and try to topple that government, just to go into somebody else's backyard to see what you were to accomplish your next endeavors, your next move. Trying to overthrow Iran. So that's what this devil's been doing. Assyria, going into Syria. The Bible talks all about it, so you can't shut us up. We're going to continue to bring this out as prophets or the men of the Lord willing. As long as Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai keeps me out here, hey, beautiful, man. I'm going to keep coming out here. You know, and it says here, so they got the power of the earth in their hand, right? Pursuing Job 9 and 24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Verse 2, and they cover fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. So they take fields, the field represents the world, right? So they take fields, or they cover fields and take them by violence. America was found on bloodshed. So this is how they took the Native American Indians down and the so-called Puerto Ricans down by violence. They took the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi down by violence. The so-called Haitians by violence. The so-called Simeon, the so-called Haitians by violence. The so-called Dominicans by violence. The so-called Panamanians by violence. The so-called Argentinians by violence. The so-called Seminole Indians by violence. Andrew Jackson was called the Indian killer. He did it by violence. All United States presidents had a part to do in the so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans' downfall. They, to this day, they still do. That's why Thomas Jefferson owned over more than 600 Israelite slaves. That's a written down, proven fact. They tell you that. Esau Edom tells you that. So Esau Edom covers fields and he takes them by violence. And that's the only way he got the earth. That's the only way he can topple and overthrow somebody is by violence. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Right, they removed the ancient landmark. They removed the Israelites from Jerusalem during 70 AD, where, yeah, we fled down to different parts of Africa, West Africa, mainly West Africa, North Africa, but was really West Africa for the most part. You see that? So these devils always took it by violence, whether it was with the Romans. Even John the Baptist said, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and a violent taken by force. Esau, Edom, even Esau, Edom's documentations prove that the Edomites were ruling the Roman Empire. That book, Edom, Rome, the empire of the Edomites, the empire of Rome, something like that. I forgot the title of the book, but they tell you it's pretty much trickery. Even Arthur Koestler, what's his name? Arthur Koestler, the 13th tribe. Right, because there ain't no 13th tribe. Pretty much he was saying that Amalek would be the 13th tribe. Like pretty much saying that these ain't the Israelites. That came out of their own mouths, man. Out of their own tongue, off their own tongue. And you had this old bottle trying to say that the real Jews are the people living in that land. And there's still wars in that. He's not going to answer you no question because he don't know. He's not going to go into, he don't know prophecy. Let me finish off with Revelation chapter 20, right? I'm about to wrap it up in a bit. This Revelation chapter 20, starting at verse 2, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is called the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So that man so Satan or serpent or devil is symbolic to a man, right? Pretty much the same as that man, right? Or Esau, Edom. And cast him, verse 3, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more. So who deceives nations? They're men. Men deceive nations. Political key figures deceive nations. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, that serpent that was back here in the garden, he deceived the nation. Those philosophies, he was doing that back then. You had those other nations back then on earth. He deceived them. So Eve not only ate, he ate of those philosophies of those other nations as well. Just like Eve does now, just like the so-called black woman does now. Or our people do now. They eat of those different philosophies till now. There's nothing new under the sun. They do the same exact shit that happened back then. They're doing it and playing it out now. And it says here that he should deceive the nations no more, right? Revelation chapter 20 verse 3, that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. And that little season that Esau Edom is ruling is the times we're living in now. So this is a short season, or a small little season for Esau to be, that Esau's ruling. He's been ruling, I say what, for about almost 600 years now, since the Dark Ages, since that 1,000 years were expired. Satan was loose from his prison. All right, that prison that he was in was the bottomless pit of Europe. That's why when you go to the history of Kagan Bullen, or so-called, or King Bullen, or Kagan Bullen, he out of 3 religions, he chose Judaism. Showing you these people never had no spoken language in the Caucasus Mountains. They were praying like the prophecies of Job 30 say. They prayed, man. They had no spoken language. They were praying. They were making funny-ass cave beast noises. Till this day, they still call themselves Caucasian. That's the so-called white man for you, man. If not weird, then who is he? So the 1,000 years prior to Esau coming into power, after those 1,000 years, the Moors or the Israelites had power. We were in power. This is Job chapter 9 and verse 24. Job chapter 9 and verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So who has the earth in their hands now? So who's ruling the earth? Fopi says that Esau is not the so-called white man. Then who's ruling the earth if it ain't the so-called white man, Fopi? Who's ruling the earth? That's my question to you. Who's ruling the earth? The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. And he did it during the time of the Renaissance period. He did it during the time of the Renaissance period. You see all these images here? I just made a video dealing with Saint Maurice. He's not found here. I don't believe I got Saint Maurice here. Then again, it might be him right here. That might be him, but I did a video on Saint Maurice. And the exact site I went on to, it says, it read Black history for 1,000 years that we need to know that goes on today. All right? Well, Black history, that history was the Moors or Israelites or the Moors ruling for 1,000 years in Europe while the devil was in the Caucasus Mountain. That's secular history. It ties in with the Bible perfectly. And I just read to you in Revelation 20. He was bound by Yahweh Shah for 1,000 years into Georgia, Russia, or Europe. And even in Portugal and Spain, this devil was bound for 1,000 years. But the Moors ruled Europe. The coats of arms and various pictures. We ruled Europe for 1,000 years while this devil was in the Caucasus Mountains. All right, Job 9 and 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So what race of people control your IDs, your passports, all your paperwork, your documentation? Who controls the music industry? Who controls the printing press? Who controls all that? The so-called white man. Oh, these guys are crazy. Then who is it? You tell me who it is. You tell me who it is. This nigga's still marching for the civil rights movement, still marching. For what purpose? Same shit gonna continue to happen to you fucking dumbass niggas. The civil rights movement did not do nothing to our people but further blind them into oppression. You don't think Esau Edom loves that shit? Verse Job 9 and 24. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. So he did that. There's a lot when you go to Google and type images of the Dark Ages, or you type in images prior to the Renaissance period, all right, you're not going to see a lot of these images. But then again, Esau Edom and certain Edomites will show you a lot of these images. Esau Edom will show you because they know we are those people. We are those people. How the apostles look, right there. Dark-skinned men with woolly hair. Dark brown. Light brown, dark brown, really dark brown. So during the time of the Renaissance period, you got something called iconoclasm. So these devils, iconoclasm is someone who's a breaker or destroyer of images. And that's what this devil did. That's why he paints images like this devil right here. Caesar Borgia, son of Alexander, the Pope Alexander the Sixth of Rome. So he painted images in his likeness, going back to the Greek Empire. The same exact devil. Nothing new under the sun. So the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So he tried to cover the faces or the images of how the Israelites looked as being dark-skinned men or Negro men into painting images in his own likeness. He covered the faces of the judges thereof, if not where and who is he? So the Most High is asking, if not where, then Who is it? If it ain't the so-called white man ruling the earth, then who is it? It ain't me. It ain't the brothers on the house.